Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Basically wanted to hop on. We haven't done a live stream here in quite a while. Basically what I'm planning here for this live stream, as everybody's starting to join in, is I kind of just want to give an update as far as how things are going, different projects that I'm working on, new videos and tests, as well as answering questions about stuff like, recent videos that have come out. So like yesterday, for example, I did a video talking about the best radar detectors, and there were some really good questions in that video. So, for example, the idea with that video is kind of like a higher level overview, right? Where we talk about things like, best radar detectors, obviously. And I'm kind of focusing on main features and all that kind of stuff. There's some things that I didn't go into. So, like radar detector detectors, if you need a stealth detector. That stuff was kind of left out intentionally because most people probably don't need it. What's up, Pat's number one fan and Roy Quitter? Hey, welcome to the stream. So there's some things that I intentionally left out of the video. Oh, hey, bud. Want to come up here? The dog's here, too. So most people don't need it, but if you need, like, RDD immunity, Redline 360C and V1 Gen 2 are generally the ways to go. There are, like, the Unitons, for example, they're kind of hit or miss with the Spectres. They're detectable at closer range, but they're not fully stealth. I tend to prefer like the V1 or the Escort like M3 based detectors. Those are the ones that are going to be better. So I can see, yeah, Dwight, for example, you're in Virginia. Generally, that's the way to go. I have heard that like they're starting to phase out the Spectres. The company that made them actually went out of business, so like they're going to start to get phased out over time as well. So I think it's going to be less and less important over time. But if that's a factor, then yeah, RDD immunity. Other thing I want to get into is there's a laser jammer test coming up in uh, Husey and Annalise. I'm definitely going to be getting into the Vantrews. I've got a lot of the ones that you mentioned actually sitting right here. We'll talk about that in just a second. Second thing, after we cover radar stuff, is laser. Yes, I'm going to Tennessee, Radar 007. So there's another laser jammer shootout out there. And there's going to be everything from, like, obviously a ton of ALPs. There should be some Unitons, I would expect. TMG just released an updated VPR head, like the Gen 4.5. I forget what they're calling it, something like that. There's people there who's going to have them, so it'll be really good to actually test out everything. ALP just released new firmware. I was updating yesterday. So a lot of new updates to go over. And then now that I'm done with my best radar detectors video, after that test, I definitely want to do like an updated best laser jammers video. I always like to do it when things are fresh with new updates and new improvements. So we get the latest and greatest info, right? Radar 007, you're coming as well? Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you as well. These events are always really cool because like a lot of people go and it's a great place to meet people, to just hang out and chat. We're there all day, shooting laser guns and testing. And while maybe some people are testing or logging results, the rest of us are just kind of hanging out and chatting. Yeah, great events. And then after that, after the laser stuff, I want to do like an updated best dash cams video. And that's going to be kind of tough because like I'm getting to the point where we're getting closer to the end of the year and I want to do my big comparisons on the best dash cams, but there's so many dash cams that I still want to test. So I'm trying to figure out like how to juggle that. And so I'll definitely kind of go over some of the ones that might be on that list that I want to get into, and we'll kind of play around with them here. And then I also have something set up here. So like, for example, this should work. So if I do like boom, boom, basically we're going to go ahead and hop in here and take a look at like some of the different websites here for the different companies. So like we'll look at some of the Uroid dash cams, some of the 70mi, the Blackview ones. I know in the chat you guys were asking about like some of the Vantrue dash cams. So we're going to be getting into some of these. I've got all these dash cams sitting here next to me as well. So we'll kind of play around with them and start getting into some of the details here on the dash cam side too. And so I guess just, let's hop into the chat. Let's see what we've got. Major software failure on a hardware 6. What was the issue that you had with the hardware 6 on the ALP? I've actually had some issues with my rear TX head. I had it replaced for issues, and now I've started getting like rear head failure issues again. And I don't know if it's like the cable now between the head and the CPU or something, but yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Wouldn't jam the TrueSpeed S. That's an issue. I don't know if there's been improvements. I know there's 2 improvements on the ALP, so maybe with the newer software, that'll be something. But we can definitely test that out in Tennessee, and just maybe I'll bring my TrueSpeed S as well, and I'm sure other people are going to have theirs too. So I guess let's start with the radar side, then we'll move on to laser, then to dash cam. So radar, this has been interesting. Like, I was thinking about doing a video beforehand, but I think this is actually a good time to do the video because we got the updates from Valentine. I know some of you guys are mentioning about like the testing stuff on the Photo radar. I've been testing it. I got like a yesterday 3/4 of a mile, 2/3 of a mile, something like that, detection range against photo radar. But like, it's excessively long and stuff. I don't know if it's actually photo radar around here. I definitely get some falses with like the escorts and unitons, and the same is true with the V1. Um, so I could drive around and try to test it, but overall, it seems like people are having pretty good results. As long as the V1 is designed to detect those specific radar guns, then it seems like it's detecting them okay. It's got some filtering options, which is nice, but it seems like it's doing a pretty good job. And then you need an app, of course, to like ID which make and model of photo radar you're encountering. Otherwise, it just has the P on screen. I like the triple BRAP as well, so like a different, unique alert tone in the V1s for that. Let's see. Brian just picked up the R4W. Congrats. Yeah, that's a solid detector. I'm curious, I guess, your thought process on like R4W. You know, what was the reason for picking up that one? Was it the range? Was it the price point? Was it app stuff? Like, I'm always curious to hear, you know, like what's the draw for specific detectors. Um, let's see. There's also the Cobra, the Rad 700i. That was an interesting one. I posted the video a little while ago about some power off issues and reliability issues that I was having. After I'd posted that video, I actually got a message from Cobra saying like, hey, you may have a defective unit with power issues and stuff. Can we send you a replacement one? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I got a second one now sitting on the shelf right back there. I tested it out, and that one seems to be better. I haven't had any power off issues with that one, and then I was like, okay, it must have just been a defective unit. Like, stuff happens, you know? Um, and so for that reason, I was like, hey, you know, the features are there. Performance seems good. Blind spot filtering is on point. App stuff, sure. I mean, nice to have it, but cool. I was like, all right, so it was weird, I guess, putting that on. And I know I posted something on Facebook earlier of like, yeah, I'm thinking about putting this on instead of the R3, just because like the features and all that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of pushback, which is understandable because how much people love the R3. And that detector came out in, gosh, what was it? It was like before I got married. 2017, 2016, kind of around there. 27, is that around 2018? Somewhere in that era. And it's like, so that's been what, 8, 9 years old at this point? Like, it's an older detector, and nothing against the R3, but like a lot of these detectors, they don't get updated as often as like cell phones or something, where we get a new one every year, you know? A lot of these ones stick around for a little while, so it's nice seeing some of the newer units that add some, you know, Bluetooth capabilities or new features and stuff. I know Unity has been doing that. Escort's been slowly upgrading their Wi-Fi, adding 5 gigahertz now to like the red lines and stuff. So it's been nice to see like some of the modern improvements on these. Let's see. Let's hop in the chat. Robert Mitchell, longtime viewer from the UK, went VFO twice thanks to your videos. Congrats, yeah. A329 and 329S. How are you liking those dash cams? I've been liking mine so far. I've been finding a couple issues, and I'll send it over, and then VFO's like, oh yeah, we've seen that too. There's a firmware update coming to address that. There's also a lot of new features that are coming. I'm beta testing a new firmware on the 329S with a lot of really cool features, some of which are available on the Viewroid. I don't know how much of that is public yet, but there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming out. So like not just bug fixes, but also new features. I think I mentioned in a previous video, like the announcements of impact detected in parking recording mode. You get the visual on screen and you get the audible notification. There's a lot of really cool stuff on that. So it's definitely helping to make that detector much more well-rounded. Let's see, Brian. Okay, so coming back, you had a regular R4, but then upgraded to the R4W for the Wi-Fi. That makes sense, yeah. I mean, I was kind of like a Wi-Fi skeptic when Escort first came out with it. I was like, what's the point? But then once I got it and started driving around, I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty useful for the update notifications and stuff. So I get it. Not everybody gets I don't think Escort usually sends out email notifications, and not everybody's going to bring their detector in to plug it in and stuff. So like, I do videos, you know, of like, hey, they released an update, but not for every firmware update, not for every detector. And what if you don't watch videos, you know? So it's nice just getting the notification in the car and you update while you drive. So like, I get it. It's nice having the Wi-Fi built in. Dwight, let's see. They won't send you a defective unit. You'd be surprised how many defective issues I have. I'm actually going to get into that with some of the Dashcam stuff. So like with, as a tester reviewer, we do sometimes get stuff that's earlier in the process. It could be like pre-production hardware or firmware, or it's like earlier build stuff. And then over time they start to, because they're like, hey, you know, we want to get videos and reviews for marketing reasons, and let's send it out to you so you have it. Sometimes companies will send stuff out before launch. Sometimes they won't. it varies, but like, we try to get stuff earlier on. So you're like, hey, here's a new thing that came out. Let's do some testing and here's a video on it. So usually there's some issues earlier on that get addressed over time. And this happens with Valentine, with Uniden, with Escort, with all the different dashcam companies. It's a thing. Apple, Google, Samsung, like, you release new hardware and it needs updates and fixes. It's totally normal. But yes, we get it early in the process where there's more bugs and issues that we report and hopefully get fixed. So it happens. Like, it's a thing. And I can't fault any company. I know people give them flack, and I sometimes do too, to be honest, of like, hey, you're sending out buggy stuff. Why don't you fix everything before launch? But like, a little more complex than that. But it's a thing. It happens. So let's see. Radar 007. My 8229 keeps powering off. I wonder, is that like a wiring issue? Is it a battery issue? Like, when does it power off, and what, like, is it during parking mode only, or is it also while driving? I'm curious. Let's see. Chaitanya, how is the laser jammer performance with the R8W? It's funny, you said laser hammer, and that's a super common thing. Like, the autocorrect always changes jammer to hammer, so laser hammer. How's the laser jammer performance with the R8W, and is it available for purchase? Yes, it's effective. The two issues, available for purchase, you have to go through a local dealer installer. There's a limited number of them. It's kind of hard to find somebody who does that because they want to do the installation as well. They're trying to protect their dealers, but they're not making it an option for people who want to buy it themselves and do the DIY install the way most everybody else does. Plus, there's like some buggy issues. There's still some bugs. I've reported a number of issues, and then they released an update for the laser stuff, and I don't think they fixed a single one of the bugs that I reported. So, like, it's effective, but the UI and the bugs need work. Let's see. So JZN, I recently scored 2 R3s for 300. So I sold my Max 360 and the other R3, new to me, but I kind of missed the arrows. That makes sense. I get it with the arrows. Yeah, it's hard to go back. I find them really useful too. And I know you can kind of figure stuff out with the ramp up and stuff, but like being able to quickly tell against like instant on the highway or something, is it ahead, back, behind? How do you respond? What's going on? Like, I get it. They're very helpful. Let's see. I've run radar detectors in Virginia, hypothetically, for over a decade with no issues. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Plus, the penalties are pretty minor. I think it's like less than $100 in Virginia if you get caught with the detector. And they no longer confiscate detectors the way that they used to. So the penalties are pretty minor and stuff, but yeah, I get it. So will the Spectre pick up the R4? I'm in Virginia. I believe the Unidens typically are detectable, especially at closer range, and especially with the older Spectre 3s compared to the Elites. The newer Spectre Elites seem to be less sensitive for whatever reason. Maybe added filtering. I don't know if there's other hardware changes or something. But yes, they tend to do a better job at detecting radar detectors. But usually they have to be like pretty close in order to pick something up. I'm doing some like really tough testing when I do my videos and stuff, at closer range or some of the spinning stuff to really try to locate it. But like somebody's just passing you or something, maybe they'll get a little blip, but they usually won't get that much. So, which is why I know people are saying in the chat, like, yeah, I've run them and they've been fine. So, Brian T, is it better to have the Redline 360C in auto or highway mode? That's an interesting question. So, Escort, I think, is typically going to default to auto, and that's where a lot of people run it. And because I don't have a lot of K-band, that's where I usually run it too. The issues is at slower speeds, it is hyper aggressive to the point where like a radar gun can be really next to you triggering and your detector will not alert. Nice for if you're in a parking lot, you start up your car and there's a bunch of door openers or something and it stays silent and doesn't rely on low speed muting or lockouts or anything. But yes, it can be a little bit too aggressive. So for that reason, if you really want good K-band performance, you can actually set it to highway to make sure you're getting more alerts and you're getting longer range alerts. Escort's auto mode no longer goes to full sensitivity when you're on the highway. If you want max range, you actually do need to switch it over to highway mode, not just auto mode, because it never ramps back up to 100% sensitivity. So if K-band is a threat and you really want to know what's going on and you want the longest range possible, run highway mode. If you want a quieter experience, you can run auto, but just be aware of some of the risks. Tyrese, should I get the Redline or the 360C? Can you clarify? The Redline Escort has like 5 different 360C series detectors. Max 360C, Max Cam, Redline CI, Max 360C, Mark. Like there's a lot of 360Cs. So I don't know if you mean like a Uniden or something. I do still see a little bit better, I believe, off the top of my head, response time on the Unidents compared to the red lines, but it's no longer such a dramatic issue with delayed alerts or even no alerts the way that it used to be. So I think like a lot of the differences at this point are largely academic, and I personally wouldn't make a choice for like a V1 versus a Uniden versus an Escort on response time anymore the way that I used to. So that's also part of the reason why I don't really test like laser sensitivity. Is like, okay, yeah, there's going to be some differences, but in practice, who cares? Get a laser jammer or run Waze or something. Don't rely on your detector. So all good. What's the best Escort detector? The red line, in my opinion. They've been releasing the updates for the Escorts, but they still haven't yet released the updates for the Max series. Even the Redline CI 360, the custom installed built-in one, they haven't released it. So like we're still waiting on the updates for that, and I don't know what's taking so long. I know they wanted to get like the updates fixed for the Redline. They released the update, and there were some bugs, and they released a second update that helps address those bugs. So like they should be rolling out the issue or the updates for the other detectors, but they haven't yet. So still waiting on that. Let's see. Robert Mitchell, do you have the Target Blue Eye in the U.S.? I don't believe so. No, I think that's just overseas. Alex, best radar detector for Europe and laser jammer? You'll have to ask a European. You guys have different radar detectors than we do. You have different firmwares than we do. You need different settings than we do. You have different radar guns than we do. They transmit on different frequencies than we do. Different laser guns. You've got different laws. You've got different... The police work differently. Like, there's just so much stuff that's different that a lot of the stuff that would apply here in the US may not actually apply in Europe. And then even within Europe, in Western Europe and Eastern Europe, the laws can vary dramatically between France and Germany and Denmark and Portugal and Italy. Like, it varies so much that, number one, it's not something that I can really test firsthand. And number two, like, there's just a lot of stuff that honestly I don't even know all the details of. Like, I don't have some of the international detectors. I've got some. But like I can't really test the firmwares against the radar guns that you have and the photo radar systems that you have, and then the point-to-point cameras. Like it's so different that I wish somebody would do kind of what I do, but for various countries in Europe. I know there are some people who like maybe focus on Spain or something, but also I know there's language barriers of like I'm watching a video in Spanish or German or French or something. My French is very bad. German, also not very good anymore. Spanish I've been working on, but like language barriers, right? I know YouTube is now doing some AI stuff with changing languages to make it easier. But yeah, so let's see. In France, any speed camera detectors are illegal. You aren't even allowed to have the warning for cameras and Waze. Yeah, I've seen some apps that will do things like, we're not going to alert you to a speed camera, but we'll say like between this zone and that zone, there's something in this area, and right around the middle, there might be a speed camera. So like, try to figure out ways to not have issues with that. So like that's a perfect example of like you can't even run Waze the way that we can here. So it's just things vary so much. So yeah, sorry. I'm not trying to blow off you Europeans and be like I'm a American who like only America matters. Like that's not at all. Like I travel around, I go to Colombia, I'm testing their different photo radar systems and stuff. I go to other countries too, and I know you guys also want something, but like that's just not really something that I can properly test and give information on. So I think somebody else would have to focus on that. So Stelly Flow, how does the V1 Gen 2 manage the new 3D speed cams that cover Chicago? I don't know. So you're saying please test and post. Hopefully somebody from Chicago can share their results. I have been seeing results that people have been sharing online from different places all around the country. So the best place for that is really hop on the forums, or better yet, if you can test and share your results with us. It really is something where we need as many people as possible testing and sharing results for the specific systems in your area with the guns that you have. Like, it's not really feasible for any one person like myself or anybody else to test for every possible location everywhere with every detector and every firmware and every setting. Like, it's one of those things where we really need everybody to step up. So if it's like, how does it perform? Either hopefully somebody else has done it, or number two, maybe better yet, you can step up and help contribute so that we can all learn together. So that's always kind of my like default response to that. Inspector Gadget. This is an interesting one. Did the Redline 360C regain number one in your opinion? It's not a decisive win. I've seen a number of still, like we talked about auto mode, for example, right? There's still some things that I think could be improved with that detector. Uh, it's not a clear, decisive win in every use case. There's still reasons to choose other detectors. I've seen issues. Some people, like I mentioned in the video, complaints about sometimes the arrow stuff stops working. You have to send it in for repairs. There's nothing where I'm like, this is head and shoulders above anything else. So I think it's a solid option. It's definitely worth considering. But if you want to dive into the weeds, there's still issues with that one that need to be addressed. And it's not like a perfect, clear winner, especially compared to the competition, which has some improvements over the red line. So I wish it was easier. I mean, if it was, and I'm like, yep, clearly Escort is the winner, then yeah, it would simplify things. I'm sure there would people who say that now I'm sponsored by Escort because now if I pick a winner, if I say somebody's the best, then clearly it's because I'm getting paid or something. I'm a paid shill. So like, that's one of those things where you can never win. But two-tube. So this is a good question that I don't like answering either because I'll explain in a second. But you can pick one detector and one jammer system, knowing what we know today, and you have to stick with it for the next decade. A lot of people ask this because they're wanting a choice based on, like, and I get the question, but number one, I don't have a crystal ball, so we kind of hope for the best. Number two, a lot of this is based on my personal preference, and it's based on where I drive. You may have a similar set of desires or personality to me, and your threats may be totally different than what I have. So, like, if they all detect different photo radar systems, and they do, maybe you need the V1, because maybe it detects systems that are in your area that the Uniden or Escort can't, or maybe the other ones can. So like, it's hard to say that. I don't know. And even for myself, like even in my area, I switch between them all the times because there's still not one. So like, they're tools. I pick the right tool for the job. So yeah, it would be Redline 360C, R8W, and V1 Gen 2. I'd probably pick the ALP as like the default for laser. That one is a little bit more straightforward, but I don't have a good answer on the radar side because I really like all three, but for different reasons. So I know that's probably a pretty unsatisfying answer, but that's the real answer. And I guess you were asking about jammers. We can shift gears and talk about that. So ALP, yes, they just released an update here. Some improvements, bug fixes, I believe some new laser gun support. We'll have to see with hardware 6. I'm still feeling a little bit bummed that like there were no more significant changes on hardware 6. I wish there was more improvements because like that system's been out since what, 2013, 2011. Yeah, let's actually, we'll pull it up here real quick. So that one's been out for a while, and they have had some improvements and updates and stuff. So if we do like boom. Okay, so best performing laser system for over a decade. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, this one's been out for a while. Let's see, is this working? There we go. ALP. Why am I not getting that? Sorry, 1 second. I guess technical difficulties. Why does it not see my browser here? Is it not showing up? That's weird. It was working during all my testing and stuff, and then now it doesn't show up. Huh. Sorry about that. Black screen. Yeah, I know. It's not pulling up my browser so you can see it. But basically, okay, they're advertising like best system for over a decade. And I'm like, well, yeah, but there's been like mild improvements. They've improved the jamming and stuff. But why hasn't there been like a more significant improvement? You know, I don't know. It's weird. So even stuff like Bluetooth being an add-on, a speaker being an add-on, all the like. Yep, no. Okay, weird. Sorry, I had this whole thing planned and set up here to be able to show you the browser. Oh, I think I see what the issue is. Okay, sorry, 1 second. We're live, so this is what happens. Okay, so let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Why is this not... Oh, should be this. Done. I don't know. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, yes, ALP's been around, and they've had a lot of opportunities for like more significant updates and improvements, and they haven't. I mean, and I kind of wonder because if I'm saying like ALP is the best, you should go buy it, and it's true, then yeah, operator failure, my bad. My computer's volume level is at 30%. I can barely hear the audio. I do have the audio turned up all the way. Are you guys able to hear okay? Maybe I can turn up the gain on my mic. There we go. Hear you just fine. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little bit louder on the mic. I don't know if it's going to auto adjust or something, so sorry for those of you guys. Okay, so anyways, yes, they've had room for improvements and stuff, but they're kind of like, we're the best, so we'll just kind of keep doing our thing. Don't fix what isn't broken, you know? So it's just kind of, I don't know, there's room for improvement. And then you watch companies who are like, Escort, let's release our smaller heads. Awesome, you know? Like, that's actually a really nice improvement. I really like that. Uniden kind of went the other way with the bigger heads, but at least their performance is good too. ALP versus Uniden. Uniden is, the jamming performance is good. The way they're jamming can throw more jam codes, but like the issue is, I don't know, they're trying to, I guess, protect their dealers and just make it a pain for people to buy and install and locate, especially while they're setting it up. And then they're just not fixing stuff. Like, they kind of went, I don't know what the issue is and why they're not improving the laser jammers the way they should. Just the whole thing is bizarre, watching what they're doing. They've just kind of gotten complacent, and so not much is happening there. The Escort performance does seem pretty good. Definitely better than like the ZR5s and ZW5s. It was a nice step up. And then we've got the Adaptive TPX, which I typically like as the more affordable option. And then we've got the TMG, which is kind of the other affordable option, but they've just had various reliability issues and stuff that, like, even though I like some of the features they have, some of the design choices and the reliability issues, like, I can't run mine hardwired anymore. I have to run like a external cigarette lighter cable just to run it without the thing having issues. So I don't know. I've seen other issues online as well. It's not just my car and my specific install. So like, I don't know. I wish that one was better, but it's just not. So it's kind of like TPX would be the affordable pick. And then ALP is kind of like the high-end pick. And then you got something like Stinger, which is the specific option if you want their fiber heads, though they do sometimes have weird reliability and detection/jamming issues that I've seen, some inconsistencies. Escort seems better with their smaller heads. I forget off the top of my head as far as some of their weaknesses. And then Uniden's just availability and lack of updates recently, even though the performance is good. It's better on the R9W than it is on the R8W and R4W. And then the whole thing with them still not releasing it for the R4 and the R8. So just weird stuff there. And plugging in the jammers to the side of the detector, I think, is a bizarre choice as well. I don't know, just some weird design stuff. The heads are bigger. They're uglier, harder to install in many cars with the physically larger heads. I've heard some complaints about that with installers. Sorry, I got a sneeze coming on. I can feel it. No, went away. Sorry. So I feel like with Uniden's first generation of laser jammers, like I know that Attawave has made jammers for K40, but I feel like there's some stuff here that maybe is just part of having their first gen jammers. So let's see. Dave, I have the ThinkWare U1000. Do you think the ThinkWare U3000 is worth it in quality and features? I think the biggest thing is getting the radar for the rear and then having it built in for the front so you don't need that separate radar thing. Also, keep an eye out for SEMA, just coming up. Just saying. Speaking of which, there are some of the dash cams I'm going to be talking about. We're going to go into more information at SEMA. There's other ones that are going to be coming out that are not announced yet. So that'll be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff on the dash cam side at SEMA. I'm not seeing a lot at CES, but SEMA looks like there's going to be a lot this year. Let's see. Invasion HD. Have you heard of the rear cam on a Blackview DR900S stop working randomly? Not really. I mean, stuff can happen, sure. Like stuff does die. You can always try reseating the cables or something, or replacing the rear dash cam if you need. I haven't tried any new cables or a rear cam. According to, let's see, 900S has been discontinued, and I know they made some improvements. Like the cables are still the same with the newer ones, but the power cables I know are different for some of the newer models. But yeah, there's the DR900S, then the X, then the X2 or the Plus, and then now there's the Plus 2 or something, which actually brings me to maybe we should shift gears and start talking about dash cams. So I guess we can start. Let's talk about Blackview first. So we've got the Blackview DR900X Plus, Mark II. It's basically the same thing as the Plus, and this is the point where I had everything loaded up here to show you guys with the browser and everything, but I can't do that. Sorry, I was going to go over it and like show you guys, but it's not working, so I can't pull it up, which is kind of a bummer because it looks like it's working. ALP. I really want to get this working for you. That is a bummer. Okay, so anyways, Blackview. Will the Blackview camera cable work on the old DR900S? Yes. You can use the same front to rear cable, but you are going to need to run a new power cable. The front cam mount you can reuse and plug in an upgraded cable or dash cam. The rear one you're going to have to pull off the old dash cam, which I guess is dead anyway, and plug in the new one. So that's the idea. Basically just reusing front to rear cable and the front cam mount. Everything else you replace. So DR900S or 900X Plus 2. It's the same thing as the regular Plus. There's even a firmware update to add things like HDR, faster boot times and stuff. So some nice improvements there. I was testing it when it first came out, but it was really buggy, including corruption issues, reliability issues, weird image distortion and like duplicated stuff, just weird problems. And they since updated it, but like, I don't know, I've just kind of been moving on to other stuff. So at some point I still need to do a video taking a look at it. I mean, I've been running it for a while, but I haven't even bothered looking at the test footage yet just because I've been busy with other stuff. So yes, there's the new DR900X Plus 2. Same thing as the Plus, just with some new features. The only... Mark, got to take off. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, Mark. Take care. The only difference if you buy the Plus 2 is you get a newer design on the box, which actually looks like the Elite, which I've got right here. So newer design for the packaging. And there's also like a new USB cable, which is like a dual port cable, so you can charge like your phone and your dash cam. So, great. That's basically it. Just like new cable and stuff. Now, the Elite 8, I think is actually kind of interesting. I haven't even opened mine yet. This is a 2K dash cam. So 2K front, 2K rear, which is nice because Blackview's rear 1080p cam is a potato. Like, the quality is just bad. I've got them set up as my rear cams. Okay, we'll just go ahead and open it here real quick. And, man, the quality, or not as my rear cams, it's my side cams. And the quality is so bad and like a little blurry and just... I'm really not happy with the Blackview rear 1080p cam, so I'm glad to see that they're stepping up here with some of the newer models, the Elite 8. I think they're going to make a 4K version of this eventually. I know at SEMA last year they mentioned like 4K 2K and then 4K 4K and stuff, but they haven't released that yet, so maybe we'll have to see like what's the latest news on that. Let's see, we can go ahead and unbox the Elite 8 here. Let's pull it off. Oh, okay, got a cover here. And there's the cameras. So, same design and style here with the front cam. Same design. It's got all just the plastic shiny stuff which you peel off. And then the rear cam is the same design as before. I was really curious when they said, like, we've got the new USB thing. Like, oh, awesome. You guys are moving to USB Type-C. But it looks like it's still going to be the micro USB here for the LTE modules. So, I guess helps with compatibility, but they still haven't moved to USB Type-C yet. And the power is still their barrel connector like before. Now, the nice thing about this is actually the low power draw stuff. You know how I tested that with like the Viewer, or not the Viewer, I don't come to that. The VFO, the like A329S and stuff for their low power parking recording. It's somewhere at like 35, 40 milliamps of power draw as opposed to like several hundred. So you can record for like a week or so. With these ones, it goes down to like 1 milliamp instead of 35 to 40. So you can record for like a year off a dedicated Dashcam battery pack, which is kind of bananas. So I'm really glad to see the companies are improving that kind of stuff. So way lower power draw. It's not on the DR900X series. It's just here on the Elite series. So that's, I think, a big advantage of these ones. So that's one of the main things that I want to test. I want to test it compared to the VFO, compared to the ThinkWare low power draw, compared to the ViewRoid low power draw, the Vantrue. That's kind of an upcoming video that I want to work on when I get time. So I've got like my amp meters and stuff set up over here to start doing all those measurements. But this I think is a pretty interesting one, specifically for the low power draw and the fact that they're stepping up the rear cam to 2K. I really don't like the 1080p cams on the Blackviews. The rears, like, it's bad. I mean, and let's see, what else did they mention here? Dual HDR. So yes, they're adding HDR finally to the Blackviews. Let's see, cloud storage, of course, 5 GHz Wi-Fi, 2K front and rear. I believe it's the IMX675 front and rear. Yeah, Sony Starvis, 2 sensors. Okay, so IMX675 front and rear. That's cool. Okay, so I guess that's the main stuff. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. I also wanted to get into the Viewroid. So the S1 4K Infinite. And all these dash cams, if you want more information about them or whatever, I put links in the descriptions to all the ones that we're going to talk about. But this is basically going to be like an A329S competitor. So 4K Starvis 2 for the front. And then if you get the 3-channel version, it's 1080p in the inside and then 2K in the rear. A lot like the A229 Pro from VFO. But it's got some really nice new features here. They're basically going for like high-end sensors and specs. Tutube, you're asking about the next great thing in countermeasures. I don't know if there is something. Thea was the big thing, but like it's been 7 years now. We're still waiting. Laser jammers, we haven't seen anything too dramatic. Dash cams, there is more innovation and development, which is exciting. Nothing too radical and dramatic. Some of the stuff is nice, but it's more evolutionary. So there's nothing like tremendously groundbreaking, but it's kind of an evolution of what we've got is kind of what I'm seeing. So I agree with you. It seems like we're in an incremental phase without anything groundbreaking. Totally agree. And thanks for the Super Chat donation as well. I appreciate that. And so this is kind of something where I'm seeing a lot of evolution. So for example, 4K Starvis 2, they've got some features like their infinite plate capture, kind of like Vantru is doing with their, what do they call it? The plate picks. So optimizations to help capture the license plate. It's okay. There's weird things where if you want to use their IPC feature, you have to have HDR on all the time. I don't see some of the same ghosting issues with HDR in the daytime on the Viewroid that I do on the VFO, so that's nice, but I still actually see better license plate capture on the VFO than I do on the Viewroid. They also have some like AI features that they showed off at SEMA, kind of like you input the dashcam footage into your computer, for example, and then you run the AI stuff, which is supposed to try to restore the footage. I haven't had good results with it. I even saw a video that they posted earlier today, and the demo that they showed wasn't even all that good. It came up with like nonsensical letters and stuff, and I'm like, this is what you're showing? Like, it's not even real letters? And yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've only tried 2 examples, but I haven't had good results with their AI plate recognition stuff. They do have some features that I really like parking mode can actually turn off at certain locations. So here, I'll grab the camera. Here's the design of the camera. One thing I like is all the cameras and cables actually plug into the mount, and if you remove the dash cam off the mount, the whole thing comes off. There's no cables here at all the way they're on the VFO, so I like that. There's also like 2 connectors here, so all the pass-through for the different cameras and GPS and power and everything. There's more connectors here just because everything plugs into the mount, so that's kind of cool. I feel like the, what's it called? The micro SD card is on the wrong side, so it's on the same side here. So if I have it mounted like this, for example, and you want to remove the micro SD card, if you press here, you might remove the card, or you might push the dash cam off the mount. So like it's in the wrong direction, the wrong side, which is kind of weird. And there's like an on-off switch here on the top, so you can turn off the dash cam without having to unplug it, but it's really easy to forget that you turn it off, so you might get no dash cam recording. So just some weird design choices here, but it's got like over-the-air firmware updates that the VFO still doesn't have. The low-power parking recording is going to be closer to the 1 milliamp option, like the black fuse, so you should get like a year of parking recording, which is kind of bananas. So just some interesting stuff here. The startup time is really quick of like when it gets power, which is nice because there's no battery and there's no supercapacitor. So like when you turn off your car, it shuts off instantly. But, I mean, assuming you're not doing some parking recording stuff. But it also boots up super quick as well. I know Blackview used to be like closer to 20 seconds, but then they improved it. So it's better now. And Johnny, yeah, I see your question about the 700i. I'll get to that. I'm kind of focusing on dash cams for now. But anyways, so we've got this one here. This is an interesting one. I'm kind of torn. It's a bit of a quirky dash cam, and I've had some annoyances dealing with it. The interior cam on it, I don't like the design. It looks like this. The interior cam is kind of tall like this, and so when I install it up by my rearview mirror, it blocks more of my rearview mirror visibility, more than like the VFOs, which have like a smaller dash cam. And so I had a little bit of blockage, but I actually have more here. And I don't know, I find it a little bit ugly here with this design. But yeah. So anyways, yeah, no worries, Johnny. If you're curious, I kind of cover the 700i in my video. It's got some issues, of course, like anything, but overall it seems like a pretty decent choice. Let's see. So that one, the rear cam looks like this. Here's the 2K rear cam. So I've got one installed in my car. This is the second one that I've got it set up here for some bench testing. And you can install it. You can mount it here like this, and it's, you know, got your angles and double stick tape. I like that they've got like a little quick release thing here, so you can just kind of wire this up, and then you've got your quick release connector for the dash cam that runs up to the front cam, and then you got an extension cable. It's a little kind of like headphone jack style connector here for the rear cam. Anyways, this one seems pretty promising, but a little bit annoying. Like some of the stuff it's weird. I don't have mine powered on right now, but if you look at the buttons right here, it's kind of like the up and down to go through the menu. I don't know if it's going to show up well on camera, but sometimes when you're looking at it on screen, it'll show like up and down. So you're like, oh, maybe I need to go like this to go up and down. But the labels on screen have nothing to do with the actual buttons. Instead, you have to do this, which doesn't correspond to that. So just some weird UI and design quirks that I don't really like, but also has some really cool features too. So this is an interesting one, the Vroid. Let's see. The T800 from 79. Oops, hop off, buddy. Sorry. Thank you. All right, so this is the one I did. Whoops, unboxing of like my newer one. So this is interesting. 4K front and rear, and then 1080p for like the interior cabin cam. So dual Starvis 2 front and rear, which is the appeal. Which there's a bunch of those now. VFO has the H229 Ultra. Vantru has like the S1 Pro Max. Blackview's still working on one. I don't think they've released it yet. There's somebody else that has one too. I forget. But anyways, here's this one. It's so 70 by T800. Seems nice on paper, and I like the fact that it's got LTE and stuff. But I've seen a number of reliability issues with like corrupted videos and stuff not getting recorded properly, which makes me kind of hesitant about this one. I like it as an option in theory of like the specs and stuff, and the features seem pretty nice, but the reliability hopefully gets better or something, but that makes me really hesitant on the dash cam. So I'm not really too convinced here on the T800, but we'll have to see. Some of the stuff like the interior cam actually seems pretty good. I've seen some good feedback on that. Here's a look at the rear cam. It's kind of like your barrel style one. So double stick tape mount, and then boop, just got to click it to where you need. I don't know if there's a polarizer option for the rear, but it does say IMX 678, 4K rear HD. So awesome. So that's good. So glad to see other companies like really working on stuff. I think 70mi has really been working to innovate and try something new. So this one seems interesting, but I just need to make sure the reliability is good. Oh, as I mentioned, they do have like an LTE module. I think I've got two of them. One over there I've opened up, but I don't think I've even opened this up yet. Let's take a look at the LTE. I know Vantru has it, Blackview has it. A lot of companies now are getting into the LTE stuff, which I think is great because cloud connectivity is very nice. It does have to be secure. I know I did a video recently talking about the not Nextbase. Who does it? What was the name of the company? That I forget. They make like the cheaper dash cams. The Beam, Nexar, not Nexar. Yeah, Nexar. They were the ones that had like the issue with the hack. But I've seen sometimes various security vulnerabilities in other ones as well. It's not just them. So having cloud stuff can always be a bit of a concern because if they don't develop it correctly, there could be security issues. All right, so okay, so here's their LTE module. So we got double stick tape here in the back to secure it somewhere. It's a hardwire one, so that's cool. So this hardwire is directly in, and then you've got a USB Type-C port here to plug into the dash cam. Looks like we've got a cable or a little button here to turn it on and off, and I guess like a status LED, maybe one here, and then a second one right there. But basically this plugs into your dash cam. I don't remember off the top of my head if this also acts as a Wi-Fi hotspot for other devices. I know some do, some don't. But the design here is kind of similar to what Vantru does with their LTE. But it's good to see that 70mi is also introducing it. I haven't tested this yet to see how good it is. Oops. Dropped the box. My bad. I'll just set it aside for now anyway. I'll clean it all up later. So they're getting into the LTE stuff, which actually brings me to the Vantru. They've got a number of really interesting dash cams. I've got a bunch of them sitting here. The 360 one, I know you guys were asking in the chat about this earlier. Like the Vantru E360 Ace, So I think it's what, 2K Starvis 2 front and rear, but it has like these two fisheye lenses. I think it's actually, yeah, hold on. Got the box, but the dash cam I have sitting over here. So it looks like this. So 1 and then 2. And you get like these kind of 360-degree view. Kind of cool idea, but really struggles at like license plate recognition since there's no like traditional dash cam facing forward. And you get the interior coverage and the side coverage, but nothing in the rear. There is a port right here on the top to plug in the rear cam. You can see there's like a USB Type-C port. Hopefully it's sufficiently clear on the live stream. But yes, you can plug in a rear cam to get the rear visibility because you're not going to get it from like the interior cam all that well. So cool idea, kind of struggles in detail capture. I'm not entirely sold on it, but it's a cool idea. And I know a lot of people have been curious about the 360 stuff. So that's still something that I need to do a video on at some point. So the Vantrue E360. As far as some of their more traditional dash cam options, let's see. Vantrue E1 Pro. This one I like quite a bit. I've been testing this one. I've done a short on it. I haven't done the full video yet. But there's 3 versions, like the E1, what are they called? Got them all here. Here's the regular E1, and there's also the E1 Lite. Okay, so 3 different versions. E1 Lite, E1, and then E1 Pro. So different sensors, different features. I think the E1 in the middle comes with like the Bluetooth button, the remote, so you can just kind of like trigger it remotely versus having to buy it extra on the E1 Pro. So that's kind of nice. But the E1 Pro is the one that I like. 4K Starvis 2, little tiny dash cam. It does run pretty hot with having everything packed into a tiny dash cam here like this, but I haven't seen any overheating issues. I know people have been running these for a little while. They've been up for a while, and I haven't seen any people actually reporting it overheating and shutting down, which is nice. It's compatible with LTE. Their LTE is okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. Their parking recording is also okay. Like they've got buffered impact detection and parking recording, but their low power stuff is something like 13 or 17 seconds or so for it to wake up and begin recording, which is ridiculous. And so I don't like their low power stuff. I'm going to be testing this with the Vuroid and the Blackview and the ThinkWare and the VFO and stuff, but this I think is going to be the worst one in terms of its low power. I don't remember the parking draw numbers or power draw as far as the amperage that it pulls, but I know the wake up time is unacceptable. But other than that, run it in a traditional parking recording, 4K, small cam, supports LTE, buffered parking recording. Like this one seems like a pretty good choice. This is probably going to be in the list as well. Let's see. Then coming to some of the other like multi-channel Vantrues, I've got 3 of those here. So let's get these set aside. This goes with that cables and stuff. So there's the Vantrue N2X. So this one I'm kind of seeing as like an Uber Lyft cam. Basically, it's just a single cam like this. There's no rear cam. It's basically just front and interior. So they'll show you like the interior cam, you know, it's on the back with like the LCD. There's a little interior cam that records in the cabin. So for like an Uber or Lyft driver just wants to like have one cam to plug in the windshield, there you go. 2K front, 1080p for the cabin, and pretty straightforward there. Let's see, actually I wanted to pull up the pricing. And sorry that my browser share thing is not working, but let's see, what's the pricing on this? I know the E1 Pro, you can find it for like around $100, maybe a little bit more. On their website it retails for $150, but there's like coupons and stuff. For the N2X, let's see, it's $199, and there's like a 20% off coupon on their website. And then, of course, Amazon is going to have stuff. And that actually brings me to, there's like another Prime Day sale coming up for like October 7th and 8th, I believe. So kind of like pre-Black Friday. Another one of those is coming up. So there's usually, I know there are going to be some discounts on many of the dash cams that I'm talking about here. But we'll have to see actually like what they are, the final discounts and how they compare and stuff. So interesting stuff. But yeah, so N2X is kind of like an Uber Lyft dash cam. If you want the rear dash cam, which I would definitely recommend, I find the rear super useful and important. They have the N4S. So this one, same idea, front and rear, but also adds like the rear cam here as well to record out the back. It's designed to be more of like an external cam, so I believe it's waterproof. So you can put it like by the license plate area or something. So with this one, it's 2K all around. So 2K front, 2K cabin, and 2K rear. And I believe they're all Starvis 2 as well for all 3 cams. HDR, LTE support and stuff. So like, yeah, pretty nice on this one. They also have the N4 Pro S, which is right here. So N4S, N4 Pro S, basically 2K front cam, 4K front cam. Now this one does sacrifice in the interior cam. It does drop from 2K down to 1080p. So the interior cam does go down in resolution, but you get the 4K option. Let me pull up the pricing here because I don't remember off the top of my head. So N4S, so let's see, retails for $300, on sale for $260 plus some coupons. N4S, $419, and then on sale for $379. So with their pricing and stuff, it's like an extra $120 to go from 2K to 4K, which I kind of wonder if that's worth it. And you get the drop in resolution on the interior cam. So are there other differences besides that? I'll definitely have to take a look at that. Yeah, triple Starvis 2. Okay, so the N4 Pro S also Starvis 2 on all three. So I think it's like the 662 for the interior cam, Starvis 2 1080p, 675 for the rear, and then IMX 678 for the front. So Starvis 2 for all three cams, which is nice. HDR, I have heard some issues, people complaining about the mount here on these ones. It can introduce some vibrations and stuff, even if you try to tighten down the screw there. So I have seen some issues with that. And some people saying they wish they had more like traditional rear dash cam mount, but that's one of the weaknesses that I've seen online. Also, their LTE, I think, could use a little bit of work. But, I mean, as far as like specs and features and stuff, this one seems like a pretty solid option as well. So N4 Pro S, N4S for the 2K one, which I think is a better bang for the buck, just based on price and features. They're obviously still in the shrink wrap. Like I haven't opened these up and tested them yet or anything, but just based on kind of what we know from specs and features. And then the N2X, skip it, I guess, unless you're like an Uber or Lyft driver. The rear cam is just so important and helpful. Like I probably get more value out of the rear cam than I do the front cam, which sounds kind of crazy. So like I would definitely not run a front only cam anymore. But I mean, if you want one, yeah, like they've got front only cams and stuff, E1 Pro. Let's see. And then the last one that I wanted to mention, the Wolfbox G900 Pro rear view mirror cam. So 4K Starvis 2. I forget off the top of my head for the rear cam. I haven't even opened this one. This one's still in the shrink wrap too, so I still need to open it and stuff. But I ran the Nexigo, was it like the D90 Gen 3? I actually still run it in my mom's car, and she's pretty happy with it overall. But it seems like that one, they're not selling it anymore. It's been out of stock forever. This one, also 4K Starvis 2. Got to test it out and stuff, and they've made some, like, Wolfbox does make a bunch of fake 4K dash cams, but this is one of their real 4K ones, which is nice. I like that they're selling dash cams so you don't have to lie to people to make money. Like, so I like that one, but still got to test it out. So there's a lot of stuff where I'm getting to like the end of the year and I want to do my best of guides, but I still got a lot of dash cams I need to test. So I'm like, all right, I got to quickly test it out. I don't know if I'll have time to do like full videos and crazy in-depth reviews, especially because I got like the laser jammer stuff coming up. There's all the Black Friday and Prime Day sales and holidays are coming up. So like kind of crunch time here. So I got to figure out the best way to balance all of that. But yeah, a lot of really interesting stuff here that I like to see companies improving and making, further developments and innovations and stuff. Nothing too revolutionary, as you can see. Nothing like wildly game changing, but they're kind of taking the foundations and the base and they're like, how can we set ourselves apart, right? Can we add some feature that's really useful or some design element or some AI something that's hopefully useful and not just marketing, So that's kind of some of the stuff that I'm playing with. There are some other dash cams back behind me that are not released yet that I don't think I can announce yet. So they're kind of hiding behind that chair right there. There's also some that are going to be announced at SEMA. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, like there's a lot of really good stuff. And I've been thinking about like the updated best dash cams video. I don't know if there's going to be a single, maybe dash cam. Like there's so much new stuff that's come out that it might be in an entirely different lineup this year compared to like the last one that I did. Maybe like the Blackview DR900X because now they have the 2, which is the same thing but has a new name, but it's the same thing with new firmware. But otherwise, I mean, there's new VFOs, there's Vuroids, there's new Vantrues, there's the 70 mice stuff, there's the Wolf boxes. There's so much new stuff that's come out, which is exciting and fun, I know I did a video a little while ago talking about how like nothing was happening with radar detectors and it was kind of boring. And it's like from a reviewer perspective, it's nice when new stuff is coming out. But yeah, it's definitely like keeping me on my toes and keeping me busy here with all this stuff. So I've got One of these installed in the car, the Viewroid S1 4K Infinite. Kind of learning about it, getting familiar with the stuff, beta testing new firmwares and features, and there's still more improvements coming out. That one's already available now. Seems like a pretty solid option, a little quirky, but seems pretty nice as well. And again, just kind of more testing. So like that's a lot of the stuff that's in progress, that's in the pipeline that I can share. And there's other stuff that's sitting back there that I'm like, I don't know, they sent it to me, it's not very good, so it just gets kicked off the list. Maybe I lightly touch on it in another video, but I'm like, yeah, here's another dash cam. It stinks because of A, B, and C, so moving on. Which, I mean, that's just part of it, you know, like, I get lots of stuff. Not everything I test and review. I try to focus on some of the most interesting stuff. Occasionally do, like, PSA type videos of, like, don't buy this one because it stinks because of whatever, but I try to hopefully buy or review the stuff that's better, that I like. So, cool. Now, let's dive back into the chat. I can see you guys have been asking tons of questions. So, I'm prioritizing like the super chat ones that pops up on my screen. I'll definitely see it, but I'll kind of like skim through some of the stuff here that you guys have mentioned in the chat. So let's see. Mark, with dash cams, why can't they have the lens on the windshield and the rest under the dashboard so somebody doesn't break in and borrow it? There's a couple companies that do that. Blackview has that with their DR900X box series dash cams. It's like a separate box for the brains, for the memory card. And then they have like a smaller dash cam on the front because it doesn't have the brains up there. There's no memory card. There's still a speaker and a microphone and stuff, but like GPS is now separate. It's smaller. The rear cam is oddly bigger than the traditional ones just because of some extra like tamper-proof stuff. So it doesn't have to be, but just that design, they made it smaller. And then you have like the cabin cam as well. Oddly enough, that one has increased power draw just due to the design, so you get less parking record time. And there were some issues with like the parking mode audio issues for whatever reason. I don't know if that's been fixed with newer firmwares. And I don't think I've seen anything for like the DR970X Plus 2 for the box series of dash cams. I know they've done like their 1080p version with the 770X, but I don't know if they've done like a 4K box that's updated. There's also some motorcycle-specific dash cams from Vantrue, from VFO, from Thinkware, where it's kind of like a separate box. It gets tucked away somewhere, and then you have the smaller cams front and rear that are usually waterproof because it's on a bike. So there's companies that are doing it. I would love to see more companies doing that because I think it's a great design choice. As long as you can still access like the memory card and stuff. Let's see. S. Paoli, I'm thinking about getting my front windshield tinted. How bad would that make my dashcam videos look? It'll be harder at night. I mean, it's the same thing as wearing sunglasses. Like your eyes are going to have a harder time seeing, but it's still going to work. Dashcams are typically designed to be able to see through tint. And oddly enough, this is usually more of an issue for the rear cam because you have obviously the tint in the rear, right? Which you usually don't have in the front. You usually have worse sensors in the rear, maybe smaller aperture lenses. And there's no bright headlights shining out the back of the car the way they are on the front. And so for a variety of reasons, the rear ones are going to struggle even more than the front. Now that said, obviously if you put tint on the front, it is going to make it harder for the dash cam to see, but they're going to compensate. They'll increase their exposure. You might see more noise, so like noisier, lower quality footage, and you might see more motion blur because it's having to like for each individual frame, it's exposing for a longer amount of time to let in more light to compensate for the darker tint. And so you might see increased motion blur as well. But otherwise it should still work, and the dash cam with its auto exposures will just compensate for like tint, just like when it gets darker outside or lighter outside, it adjusts its exposure accordingly. And it does the same thing if you've got tint. So it's doable, but you might see more motion blur or more noise depending on how your dash cam's auto exposure functions. Let's see, Robert. Must say that dash cam batteries are definitely worth it, especially with parking mode. It is an extra wedge of cash though. Yeah, I agree. I put them in all my cars. And I recommend them as well. It does make it interesting though with a lot of the dash cams now having like the super low power draw stuff. It can sip so little power that like I think it's going to make it much more viable for people to be able to get away with no battery pack required. And a lot of them have like the OBD2 connectors. Like I'll grab a couple of them real quick. Let's see. Here's a Viewroid one. There's a few more back here, but like I think these are coming out. I don't know like the release dates for all this kind of stuff, but like Viewroid, they have their OBD2 connector. VFO has their OBD2 connector, and I've done videos on like some radar detectors and different dash cams with these, but it's a simple idea. I don't think I've even opened any of these yet, so take a look at what these are like and how they work. I've been curious about some of the battery protection stuff. So let's see. Here's the VFO one. So OBD2, we've got how many pins in there? 3 pins. So it's just power. There's no data communication. So that's good. We've got switches here on the back for 3 hours, 24 hours in the middle, or infinite. So we don't have like 6 or 8 hour controls. There's also no voltage cutoff options. Is that true? Yeah, the other side here is a brick. We've got USB A and C. One is for the dash cam, I forget which, probably USB-C or something. There's also an on-off switch, which I don't remember if that's for the dash cam or if it's just for parking recording mode. I have to like reference the manual, and I think I asked VFO about this and then I forgot what their answer was. Sorry about that. Let's see. LED, there's a status LED and stuff. Parking record time switch. Okay, so it just says power on and off. Okay, yeah, so I'll have to reference that later, but there's an on-off switch. So anyways, there's the VFO one, and then it has like little Velcro connectors and stuff. And then there's the, let's see, the Vuroid one. I haven't opened this up yet. So let's see what their OBD2 connector's like. So this one's a little bit more compact. This one looks like it's got a bunch of pins in here. So 8 pins. So potentially some CAN bus issues. Hopefully not. I don't know why they need so many more pins than like the VFO one. It is a smaller connector here. That's maybe the smallest one that I've seen yet. The NOP 100 OBD2 connector. And then there's the barrel connector here for power. I believe the voltage management is done in the dash cam, so that's why there's no like switches here and stuff for the voltage controls, which is nice. So that way I guess you have more options. Like the VFO doesn't have it. I don't think the VFO has voltage management in the dash cam. It's done on the HK4 or on the HK6. So yeah, it can't shut off at certain voltages, which could potentially be an issue. So you might need to run it at like 3 hours or something, or maybe 24 hours max on the VFO. Huh. I'm surprised that they didn't include it. There must be a reason why they don't have it on the VFO if the dash cam itself can't do the voltage management. That's a weird choice. I don't understand that one. But anyways, let's see. There's a fuse in line here in case like avoiding fires or something, which is good. And then what other accessories are there? There's a manual in there. Got the just like cable tucking tool, and then just some clips and stuff to tuck the cable away. So that's the Vuroid one. But yes, so now that some of these dash cams do have the low power parking recording, you can get away with maybe not needing the dedicated dash cam battery, which saves money, and you get the longer parking record time without draining your car battery, which is really nice. So I think that's going to make the battery less necessary, which is nice for saving money because, as you mentioned, Robert, like, yeah, they're pricey. They're $300-400 or so for a battery, which I get it. People don't always want to spend. That can sometimes be more than the dash cam itself. So, like, I get it. Let's see. Talking about the tint on the windshield. Went to a doctor to get a waiver so I can legally tint it. Cool. That's nice. Let's see. Cosmic Sand. I don't know which brand would last me longer, a Nextbase or a VFO. Hard to say because you can always go online and you can find complaints, people having reliability issues with VFOs dying or Nextbases or Vantrews, or pick a brand. Like, you're going to see it, you know? And I don't know. I don't really like the design of some of the Nextbase stuff. Even their IQ, like, the video quality wasn't that great, and some of the features they advertised when it got announced like 2-3 years ago still isn't out. So I talk to them every year at SEMA, and I'm still like, yeah, when are you releasing this stuff? And I don't know. It's not even on my list to test. I don't like some of their design stuff with the big, bulky dash cam. Some of their older stuff, like the 622GW, wasn't a huge fan of that one either. So I don't know. I'm not a huge Nextbase fan, just from what I've seen with testing and using their stuff. VFO's not perfect either. You will see people who sometimes have issues. I've had various issues with the VFOs over the years, like it happens. So nothing's perfect, but buy one and hopefully it works well for you. I saw somebody on the forum saying, like, I bought a Vantrue. I think they bought 2 or 3 Vantrues, and they all had problems. And they're like, man, Vantrue, clearly your dash cams suck. And I totally get it if that's been your experience. Like, I don't blame you. But then other people are like, man, I've been running Vantrues forever, and they've been great. So it's kind of luck of the draw sometimes with if you get some defective ones or if you get good ones. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I've got 2 VFO dash cams, and they're still working great after 3 and 4 years. VFO seems to be making massive waves in the market, and quality and features for the price is perfect. Yeah, they're releasing a lot of new stuff, and they're definitely working on like the innovation and development side. It does mean there's a lot of dash cams, and some of them are interesting, and it can mean that I'm doing a lot of videos on the VFOs because there's stuff that I like, which then leads to people saying like, "Oh, you're a VFO channel or something," and I'm like, "No, there's so much other cool stuff too. It's just they're making stuff that I like, so I want to test it, you know." Let's see, Randy. Any new radar detectors out? Nothing super new recently, but we have had some big updates for the V1 Gen 2 and for the Redline 360C. So major improvements for existing detectors more so than brand new detectors that haven't been out in a while. Unit has their Wi-Fi stuff, but yeah. Let's see. I like the R4. I had the R1. The R4 is a nice jump. To get the GPS stuff, of course, is very useful if you're driving around in any urban areas. And then the Bluetooth is also very nice that the R1 and R3 didn't have. Yeah, so I definitely like those. Let's see, Robert. Any dash cams coming out with the remote main box in 4K? Yeah, the Blackview DR970X box plus. If you look up the box series of dash cams, they've been out for a little while. Those are the ones that I was referencing earlier, and they do have those. Terry, do they make a dash cam for a truck? And I use the same one on my motorcycle. They do. Usually the truck ones, you can either use like a traditional rear cam on like the rear window if you want to record the bed. Some people want a clear view out the back so the bed doesn't obscure some of the rear visibility. So you can get one that has like a waterproof rear cam. Here, I'll open one. So might as well, since we're talking about that. I haven't even looked at these yet, so good time. We're just kind of unbox together and look at some of these ones. So try to do this without like damaging the box. There we go. All right, so let's do the Vantru N4S. This one has like a, oops, where is it? A waterproof rear cam. And let's take a look at how this one works. So let's go ahead and open this one up. There's a lot of companies that make these. VFO, Vantru, Blackview. Like there's a lot of companies that do the waterproof external ones. So let's see. We've got our manual. There's the front cam in here, and then the rear cam. So we'll open the front cam here real quick, just to take a quick look at that. Gotta keep reminding myself to like lift it up so you guys can see. Don't just do this. So, all right. So we got the front one. Looks like we've got the big lens here on the front. This is where you install your polarizer. We've got the quick release mount here for the GPS mount. We've got our interior cam like this, goes up and down, and then our LCD here on the back to do our display stuff and controls. But the main thing we wanted to look at for now is the rear cam, the waterproof design. So, right, lift it up. So here's the design of it. I believe this is the waterproof one. So as you can see, we have the mount here like this, double stick tape. I don't see options here for screwing it in as a backup. I have seen that with like some of the waterproof rear cams that go with the license plate. Like they'll screw into the body if you need and then just have double stick tape as a backup. Looks like this one is double stick tape only, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But that is kind of a limitation of the mount. Like you do have a lot of flexibility on the mounting angle, which is cool. Anyways, looks like this one runs to USB, and then you have like a USB connector here, which will run back to the dash cam itself. So this will run through like a license plate light area or something, or wherever you do, and then the rest is just USB. I'm assuming this is going to be like weather sealed. I don't know for sure. Might be a good idea to like heat shrink it or protect the connector as well, especially if this is going to be in a truck, maybe exposed to the elements. But there's a lot of like external rear waterproof cams, and if you don't want the bed of your truck to obscure it, you can do this. And then the motorcycle ones, yeah, those are basically just kind of, their two cameras actually look a lot like this, just a little box. And then the two cams run back to like a main control unit that does all the power, the brains, the processing, the memory card, the Wi-Fi, all that stuff, right? So that's usually the way it works on the motorcycles. And then obviously you've got like the GoPros on the helmets here, or you could do like the Insta360 on the back of the bike and stuff. Like there's a variety of options that I'm sure you've seen, like videos that people will post. All right, so we got that one. Next base looks pretty tacky. Yeah, not a big fan. Let's see. Between the Next Base 522 GW and an A129 Plus, which one would you recommend? those are kind of older dash cams at this point. Do they still sell the 522s? Like they might. A129 Plus has been discontinued for a little while. If you can upgrade to the 229 Plus, I would definitely recommend doing that. But if you have a A129 Plus laying around, I would probably still lean towards the VFO. Yeah, I just haven't been a super huge fan of like that next base line of dash cams. Let's see. Mustafa asking about European focused videos. Sorry, no, I actually did talk about that earlier of like things are so wildly different. Like you have the Geneva Max. We don't have that here in the US. You know, like you have different detectors and firmwares and radar guns and laws and frequencies of the guns transmit on and operation stuff. Like it's just so different that like you'll need to test it and share your results with us, or maybe find somebody else who's in your area who can test. So sorry, but I can't. Let's see. Been in an accident twice. None of it was my fault, but had to pay $1,000 for the damages to my insurance. Oh, that stinks. Why did you have to pay? Like, was it usually isn't the other person responsible for paying the damages? And like, is it your deductible, or why did you have to pay for that? I guess yeah, getting a dash cam would be nice to prove that it's not at fault, but I don't know kind of what the issue was in the first place. Kringla, how much falsing usually happens in small towns? I've been leaving my R7 in highway mode around town with barely any falsing. Usually not that much. Smaller towns, you're not going to have as many grocery stores with the automatic door openers, right? Maybe there's like a speed sign when you're entering town or something, but not as much in town. Maybe something by a school. Sometimes they put speed signs there. There's fewer cars, so less blind spot radar to deal with. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to get less. Just there's fewer radar sources, especially the false ones. So you'll get fewer alerts. So it's not really like a filtering thing per se. It's just there's less stuff to alert your detector. So yeah, you do see fewer alerts. Definitely nice compared to like bigger cities where there's just more stuff going on. Let's see. Speeding Cheetah. Thanks for your 60 FPS video. Yeah, you're welcome. That's actually a fun point. The ViewRoid has 60 FPS in 4K 3-channel mode, which, talked about 60 FPS I don't care about. The VFO can't do it in 3-channel, but this one can. Though oddly enough, if you do 60 FPS here, the interior and rear cam actually drop to 15 FPS. So you get like pretty stuttery footage, but it can do 4K 60 at 30 FPS. So fun fact. But coming back to your question here, let's see. Thanks for the 60 FPS video. Made me re-evaluate and test things, and I discovered it was greatly hurting video quality in low light because I always forget to adjust the HDR timer. Yeah, I feel like this is one of those things that sounds really cool in theory, but like in practice doesn't really make sense to do. So I'm not a big 60 FPS fan. If there were no trade-offs, the bitrate was doubled, if the quality was there, if you could do HDR, I mean, sure, why not? Get twice the frame rate, you know? But there's a lot of downsides as you're finding, so like, it's not worth it. Let's see. Okay, coming back to like the separate box style dash cams. Not only do I want the main recording box separate, but I want a separate memory card per camera. That's nice. I've gone back and forth. There's definitely reasons to have like multiple independent dash cams with different memory cards. It is a bit of a pain to have to pull like a rear memory card and a front one and plug them back in and then remember like which one was the front, which one was the rear. I try to mark them or use different brands of cards for that or something. But it could be nice for various reasons, reliability concerns or extra storage or something. So there's benefits to that. Let's see. Adelie, have you played around with the photo radar on V1 Gen 2? I've left it on. I haven't gone out to like some of the photo radar sites yet that they said that we have around here. I did do some research and I found some like school zones or something that have photo radar. So I kind of wanted to run out there, but I haven't done that yet. So it's on the list, testing Uniden versus S-Core versus V1. But there's some good testing actually from people who do have photo radar in their area. And there's a lot of results on the forums. Overall, it seems to be pretty positive, people are finding. But a lot of it is very dependent on what systems you have in your area. I've been trying turned on, and I get like the device 3D, or I forget what it's called. I'll pull up the app here real quick. Like D3D something. Pull up my profiles, photo radar on. Which one is it? Bands. So I'm curious if any of you guys have been trying the V1, like what your experience has been with the photo radar. There we go. Drive Safe 3D and Drive Safe 3D HD. Those are the ones that I've been seeing. It looks like is triggering my V1. I don't think we have any of those in this area, and I'm not sure yet what's causing those alerts if it's like a blind spot false or whatever. But yeah, so I haven't like fully tested that yet. But so far from what I've seen online, people are reporting good results. Dennis, can you do a full review of the S1 Infinite? I am planning on that. I don't think it's going to be a crazy in-depth review the way that I've done with the A329S, just due to sheer time constraints and this time of the year. So that video is planning on being kind of like an overview video. Here's some of the new features. Here's the highlights. Here's some sample footage. Here's some of the things I like. Here's what I don't. So kind of like a review, but not crazy in-depth detail. And I am going to be comparing it to the A329S as a baseline. And depending on when I do that video, A329S is adding some features that are not available yet in public firmware that the Viewroid has. Not all of the features that it has, but some of them. And so depending on when I release that video might affect also like, and when VFO releases stuff and Viewroid is working on an update with the new firmware. So like depending on when stuff gets released, we'll also change this. So I'll be comparing it, but it's just, I'm quickly finding why people usually at some point hire whole teams of like video editors, and just like, it's a lot to do. Like, I get it. The editing takes so much time. That's a whole nother discussion on trying to find an editor or trying to use AI tools to help me with the editing and kind of automate the process, but it's tough. Let's see. I've actually been finding leaving HDR on most of the time is beneficial in the A329S. Get the best image in most wide conditions. Cut auto exposure during the day as well. No HDR timer needed. I have seen some people do that to get, yes, the improved dynamic range and like tunnels and sunrise and stuff. Also, there can sometimes be issues where when it switches from HDR off to on, sometimes it like stops recording for a little period of time, which is not good. I don't know if that issue has been corrected in firmware yet, or if that's something that they're working on, but I have seen some people actually advising doing HDR on all the time because of what you're saying, and also not having the gap in video recording. So what happens if you're in the time when it's switching between HDR on and off and the dash cam is not recording? So that's an issue that needs to be addressed. So for that reason, I can definitely see a use case for, and an argument for running HDR on all the time. Pros and cons like anything, right? Let's see. Mustafa, what about the next in speed detection side of enforcement? Something more advanced than lasers? Wondering if a laser jammer investment could go to waste one day. I mean, sure, there's a cat and mouse game. They can always try to do stuff, but like, there's been discussions with new... What if they operated instead of 904 nanometer? What if they're like 1550 or something? But there's reasons why they don't want to do that. Different pulse patterns they can try to do with anti-jamming stuff. Some of the cameras, this kind of seems to be where people are headed. But then a lot of the cameras, there's pushback in different areas with laws, with automation, with revenue generation. Like, it's a complicated thing. So there's a difference between like, we could theoretically develop some new technology versus does it make practical business sense to do that? And do we have public support and backing to actually release something like that? So it's a bit of a complicated topic. Yeah, but if something new ever comes out, I'm sure companies could update with, just like they did of, oh, KU band is coming out. Okay, fine, let's add KU band support. So, you know. VFO really needs to improve the boot time of the A329S. It's so long, especially in 3-channel mode. I agree. That is a weakness of the VFO. That is actually a benefit of the Viewroid. I think it was like 1-ish seconds, 1 to 2 seconds for startup time, which is fantastic. And when the Dashcam boots up, it actually says on screen, like it's recording. You just see like a splash screen as everything's still loading, but it's recording in the background, which is kind of nice. So I agree. Like Blackview's been improving that. They had an update with the DR970X Plus series to make that faster. The Elites are faster. So like, I think that is an area that is a pretty obvious room for improvement. It's interesting with some of the technical discussion on how that works with like the quick boot versus full boot stuff, especially with some of the low power recording and some of the limitations you have there. So you can do faster boot, but sometimes there's issues with like certain cameras can't turn on. So you may only get 2-channel recording instead of 3. So like, again, it can be a bit complicated to do some of the fast boot stuff, but I agree with you completely that it is an important feature and it needs to be handled better. '56 Oval. Do you think Uniden is going to walk back dealer only? I think a lot of it depends on sales, to be honest, because money talks, right? If they can't generate enough money with their like dealer distribution, maybe. but also how big is the market for people that want to buy the laser jammers themselves and install it? Like we have the community of enthusiasts like you guys who will want to hang out on a Friday afternoon and just hang out and talk countermeasures, you know, or people who want to, hang out on forums. Like we're a very passionate market, but how big is this market? Most people probably just want to go to a dealer and be like, yeah, install whatever's good, you know? So like I can get their perspective on this, but I think a lot of it comes down to like, is this stuff going to sell? And they're just making it such a pain. Like they've got a really small dealer network, which again is a difficulty when you're just setting it up and building it. But like maybe in the meantime, make it available for people online who want to buy it and take it to a local dealer, and the dealer can still charge for the labor and make money. Maybe they don't make money off selling the parts at a markup, but at least they can still make money on the labor. I've seen a lot of people who are like, hey, I want to buy the jammers. I cannot find a dealer in my area who will carry them. And I can't buy it online to take it to a local dealer. And like, it's just a pain. So like, they need to make the whole process better. And it's not just about me like making my affiliate commissions and saying like, well, if you go to a dealer, I can't make a percentage. Like if you buy it online, you use one of my links, right? Like I make a percentage. And that's one of the ways that I am able to do my tests and reviews and stuff. And so if you buy like an ALP or TMG or TPX or something, like, yeah, I do make my affiliate commissions, escorts too. But that's not like the concern that I've got here with the Uniteds. It's just people can't buy them and it's such a pain. And so like, what do you recommend people stuff can't buy? It's just the whole situation is dumb. So Robert, have you noticed that the SSD support on the VFO has gotten better? Yes. There's also some improvements that I don't know if this is out yet, but you're going to be able to use it, I believe, with like the low power parking recording where it boots up and it writes to the micro SD and then it's going to copy it over to the SSD or something. So they're continuing to make some improvements here on the SSD side. I haven't really used the SSDs. I used it on the 329S a little bit, but it's not really a feature that I've used myself on any of the A329S or T models. So there are improvements, but I haven't really played around with it. Let's see. Overall lack of laser jammers in use is a main constraint. KA was chosen for its multi-track capabilities and not because they wanted to buy. What do you mean by multi-track? Like tracking multiple cars? Because you can do that with K-band as well. That's more about like the processing side than it is on the than like the frequency you transmit. So kind of curious what you mean. One creeper bomb about the multi-track. Maybe tracking multiple vehicles at once, which is something you can do with radar, K and Ka-band, that you can't really do easily with laser. Invasion HD. I know VFO recommends updating the firmware on a brand new cam. Is it necessary and how often? Yes, update the firmware when it comes out. There's bug fixes, there's new features. I would definitely recommend updating. How often should I check for updates? I wish they did a better job of notifying people of when updates are available. Like you can just check manually periodically to see if something's available, but I don't think they send out like email notifications of, let's say you sign up and I own a A329S or whatever. There's not a way to like sign up for notifications of that, so you just have to check manually. The app does not let you update over the app. There is a feature for like updating over the app, but it still doesn't work. I don't know why they haven't just removed that button from the app until they get the feature working, and it's been like years or something. It's a point of confusion. So it's weird. You just have to, you download the file from your computer, copy it to the micro SD card, and then put the card in the Dashcam, and it updates that way. So there's no cloud updates, there's no Bluetooth over the phone updates, there's no Wi-Fi, nothing. It's just micro SD. Robert, let's see. Need computer, and especially with the A329, look 3 times to check to make sure if you have the correct firmware, as there's always way too many options. Is this like in reference to the SSD or something? I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Ma Adams 09. Do you have any recommendations for a backup camera only? I know Wolfbox Combos is a dash cam, but I already have a dedicated VFO. Yes, if you want a backup cam, like you've got the VFOs and they have the little LCD. They're awful as a backup cam, right? Tiny screen, you have to manually do it. Like you can barely see stuff back there. Like if you want a backup cam, yes. Something like the Wolfbox G900 Pro or just one of the rear view mirror style dash cam, you can do a 2K one or something. You don't have to go for a 4K one. Especially if you're just wanting like a backup cam primarily, you got a digital rear view mirror. It'll work as a backup cam. A lot of these, I know with the Nexago, for example, I wired it into my reverse light. So when I put the car into reverse, the reverse light kicks on and that triggers this to like switch to backup cam mode. And backup cam can be a little bit different. Maybe like Rear cam shows you cars back behind you, and backup cam might like angle the cam a little bit lower so you can see lines in the ground and stuff. So it switches modes. Um, so that is very helpful if you want a backup cam specifically. I would say go for a rearview mirror style dash cam to get the huge display, way better than a dash cam with like a little tiny. Where is it? You know, these things have like tiny displays. You can't use these as like functional backup cams. They're so small, right? So get one that uses your whole rearview mirror instead. Let's see. Want to make it to the Tennessee meet. Let's see. Can you review the Spectre Nav? I haven't been playing with it that much. I've got it downloaded, but I don't really run it that much. I know there's the new like R8 Dukes app. There's still Highway Radar for iOS. It's in beta testing. Like there's a lot of cool apps that people are working on, but I haven't spent a ton of time testing those right now. Let's see. Speed Cheetah. Does using a longer length... Oh, I saw this. Okay, so this was cool. I think I saw this on... Was it in the comments or in like Reddit or something? Does using a longer length coax cable for the rear cam cause more power draw or signal degradations? Say using 10 meter or 6 meter. I don't think so. I believe coax is analog, so theoretically you might see more signal degradation, but like I don't think it's enough to cause an issue. Actually, no, I think it's digital. I think coax is digital. It's the headphone jack style ones that are analog. Either way, yeah, I don't think it requires more power. Maybe there's some additional power loss over a longer length cable, so it's going to have to like send more power in, so you might see increased power draw or something. But I don't think that would be a dramatic issue. It's not something that I've tested, but making my uneducated guess, I don't think it would be a big issue. I've never heard any complaints about that, but I also, to be fair, haven't seen any like A/B testing with short cables versus long in terms of quality or power draw. Let's see. Coming back to the K versus KA with like the multi stuff. KA makes it easier from a processing standpoint. I think K requires more power compared to KA for the same thing. Why would K require more power? Is there something about transmitting at 24 gigahertz compared to 36 that's maybe less sensitive, so you have to send more power or something? Like, if anything, I've seen more low power stuff on K-band than I have on KA. Like, the Genesis has their lower power patch antennas on KA, but most people that are doing low power K, Photo Radar, Falcon HR, Raptor RP1s, Stalker Patrol, like, there's a lot more of that. So, which I know is not apples to apples or anything, but yeah. Oh, hey, Robert, yeah, thanks for the super chat donation. Got to run, but I appreciate all the videos. Thanks for the work you do. You're welcome, yeah, and thanks for hanging out with me on a Friday and just kind of chit-chatting about radar detectors and dash cams and all this countermeasure stuff. So, have a good one. Let's see. Invasion. VFO should make it a working option in the app to update over Wi-Fi. 100% agree. Does the website tell you what new features or improvements they have compared to the version? Yes, they usually do have a change log, and I'm sorry that my thing to show you like my browser window is not working right now. I don't know why. I can see it in like the preview, but it just doesn't load. Let's see if I do this. Nope, see, I get that black screen. It's not going to show the browser. No idea why. Anyway, they do usually show you the change log, and it has the list of like, here's the improvements for this specific update. So if you go take a look at the release notes for any firmware, they usually do list that. Let's see. Cannonball discussion. Yeah, a lot of the stuff with Cannonball overlap. It's a lot of the same things. Maybe just need to account for like more states that you're traveling through. But I think asking somebody who's really into Cannonball would give you more information. Like, do you need to stop for every KA alert or K-band alert or something? You might treat things a little bit differently. I've never been like too into the Cannonball stuff, even though I know some Cannonball people. But yeah, there might be some Cannonball specific things. I've seen some people running multiple jammers or radar detectors like as a backup. Sometimes they run multiple at the same time, which I've got thoughts on. But different approaches, different needs. Let's see. Omega total, regarding power and higher frequency to some extent, gets absorbed by more things, including the water and the air. That is true. So for radar and absorption, like with K-band, one of the reasons we have Ka and Ku is because of, yes, the atmosphere actually blocking and absorbing the radar signal. So we have K and we have K above Ka and K under Ku, right? And these are designed to kind of like go around the main frequency range where the atmosphere can absorb some of the radar signal. I don't think that's too much of an issue with closer range police radar. I don't know the distances where that becomes problematic. Like, is it miles? Is it 10 miles? Is it 100 miles? Like, I don't know the distance time when that becomes an issue, but like, I don't think that's a big issue for clocking cars 100 feet away or 1,000 feet away or 2,000 feet away. I mean, you can still do that just fine even with K-band. So I don't think that's a huge reason to choose one police radar gun over another. But yes, that is kind of why we have the KA and KU. Fun fact. Let's see. Dennis, you mentioned you'll be comparing the Vroid S1 to the VFO A329S. Does it mean that you think that the A329S is definitely superior? No. Dennis, oh, thanks for the super chat. So I guess just off the top of my head, I like the video quality a little bit better from the VFO. They both have kind of wider interior cams, but you don't have the distortion on the... because it's not a fisheye on the Vroid's interior cam. I don't like the design. I think it's a little ugly, and it's taller, and it blocks more of my rear visibility. May or may not be an issue in your car. 1080p instead of 2K. The low power draw is better on the Vroid, like 1 milliamp instead of like 35, 38, 40, somewhere in that range. So way longer low power recording. Record for like a year instead of a week. Big difference. Much faster boot up times on the Vroid. You also get over-the-air updates on the Vroid. I like the quick release, even though quick release is the wrong way relative to the memory card. I like that everything plugs in here into the base. And so the dash cam can fully come off and it's not hanging by cables. So if you need to pull it for whatever reason, you can. It's more easy to do. Advantages of the VFO. I like the wider interior cam. I feel like it's more tried and true. Just they've been out for a while making stuff. Vroid, I mean, the company's been around for a while. They had the D21, and then they released now the S1. So this is not their first dash cam, but some stuff does feel a little bit kind of like annoying to use just because it's earlier stuff that they haven't really refined yet. So from like a UI perspective, I tend to prefer the VFOs. So, I mean, they both have their like pros and cons, but I definitely need to spend a little bit more time thinking it through. But I can see the Vroid actually being pretty competitive to the VFO. VFO has a lot more options if you want the exterior waterproof cam, you want a telephoto, you want exterior side cams. Like, there's a lot more versatility there. But for the traditional, just like front and rear recording, both can get like your parking mode impact notifications. Like, there's a lot of features that they both have. I think they're both pretty compelling. Yeah, I think they're both pretty good options. So that's just kind of some thoughts off the top of my head so far. See, any idea, Speed Cheetah is saying, the dash cams you tend to review compared to commercial systems like what police use. Image quality seems much better on ours than theirs. Yeah, a lot of those seem to be potato cams. I guess they're not as captured or concerned about like license plate capture and all that because they can just kind of radio it in and call it in or something. Maybe they're just more concerned about getting like the overall, you know, did the guy hit me? Did I pit them? Were they speeding? Did they run the red light? Did they pull a gun? Like just basic overview stuff instead of as concerned about quality as we might be. So different application, and they probably are focused more on like durability and reliability because like they're gonna get beat up, right? They're gonna get used, and so maybe they're focused more on durability and let's not push it with the latest and greatest hardware, right? Let's not get the bleeding edge where it's gonna be a little more problematic and buggy, but let's use maybe older tech that's more solid and reliable. Maybe that's kind of what their approach is as well. So I don't know. Expired PCP. Thoughts on the Red Tiger series of dash cams. So they do make a lot of fake 4K options. They did release the F77, so it's that was the other one I was trying to think of earlier. 4K front and rear, like 70mi and VFO and Vantru and stuff. Two issues. Number one, parking mode startup times. If you're not using the time-lapse thing and you're using impact detection, it's something like 17 seconds for it to wake up and begin recording, which is ridiculous. So an unusable impact detection, parking recording. Number two, it has an eMMC, so like internal memory card essentially, that's not removable. All the video footage gets written to the internal memory. You can't have it write to the micro SD card. And I think it's only like 128 gigs or 256 or something, which is not a ton. When you're looking at like dual 4K recording, and then you have a small memory card, and you can't write to a larger external memory card, I think the only option is like manually copying footage from the internal memory to the memory card. You can't just have it write to, like, why would you do that? So it's just, the company is known for making a lot of fake 4K stuff, and there's just some weird design choices with that one, and that I'm not a fan of. So like, yeah, for me, sorry, not sorry, but sorry. Rob Spector, are the new Blackview cams compatible with the DR900X? If you look on Blackview's website, they actually have a compatibility list that goes over all the cameras and all the new cams and what's compatible between different models. Power cables, front to rear cables, mounts, you name it. So at the 900X, I forget when they changed power cables. Was it the S to the X or the X to the X Plus? I forget off the top of my head, but if you reference that on their website, it'll show you. Traditionally, the rear cams are going to be compatible, but there is a change with the power cables at some point in the series. Okay, I think I'm drinking more water. I can start to feel my throat getting kind of dry here, so I think I might need to take off here and go walk my dog and grab some lunch, but rest my voice too. So anyways, that's it for now. That's kind of the main stuff that I wanted to share and go over. A lot of interesting stuff on the Dashcam side, a lot of stuff on radar side. You guys, Blue's asking about the VFO battery. That battery still hasn't been released yet. I don't know the ETA. I'll ask them about it at SEMA. They might have it on display there. They probably would. And there's been some different innovations and developments and stuff on the battery too from what they were initially prototyping. But anyways, yeah, thanks to all you guys for just hanging out here on a live stream on a Friday afternoon. And yeah, hope you guys are all doing well. Stay tuned. Got more laser jammer testing videos, a lot more dash cam stuff. Probably not as much on the radar side. Maybe the V1 photo radar stuff, but not as much right now. There have been some minor updates, but I think now it's going to be starting to focus more on the laser stuff and then on the dash cam stuff too. So things to look forward to moving forward. So with that said, thanks again. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.